Good afternoon and welcome to the Humpday Hangout here on Fire Engineering. I'm one of your co-hosts for the first Wednesday of the month Humpday Hangout, which is focused on training. Steve Pegram, I'm the Fire Chief in Goshen, Ohio, and the President of the International Society of Fire Service Instructors. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about physical fitness, physicals in the fire service, and what we need to do to prepare our firefighters to perform at the best level they can and also be fit. So not only they have a good career, but also they have a good retirement as well. My co-host with me today is Aaron Heller. Aaron's back. Unfortunately, he missed us last month, but he's back. Aaron's a captain in Hamilton Township, New Jersey, and we'll get with Aaron in a moment. And also on with us is Ross Pawlak. Ross is a firefighter paramedic in Miami Township outside Cincinnati, Ohio, but he's also has his master's degree, and he studied firefighter fitness for his master's degree. He runs a firefighter-focused gym, has done the combat challenge multiple times, and currently provides in his time off physical fitness training for firefighters. So we invited Ross to come in and talk to us a little bit on that as a subject matter expert. And then, of course, Eric Roden's with us from Fire Rescue Magazine and Milwaukee Fire Department. But without further ado, we'd like to talk to Chief Bobby Halton and get an update about what's coming up at FDIC.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I was multitasking, which means I'm doing nothing well. But thank you so much. It's great to be on with you again, Steve. Aaron, great to see you. Eric, Ross, it's a pleasure. FDIC is what? Coming up, a couple of weeks. We're hoping to get about 35,000 folks there. Classes are filling up fast. If you're going to be doing the hands-on training, please get your stuff in as quickly as you can. We've got many classes that are already sold out. We're working on trying to accommodate a few more students in some of the more popular classes, like the NIST-UL class. We're seeing if we can't get a few more students into there. So we do have a wait list we're currently taking, but all the slots have been used up on that. So we're working to see if we can get you into a wait list situation and see what we can do to accommodate more students there. So if you're still interested in taking the NIST-UL live fire science class, please get your stuff in. Also, the workshops are filling up fast. The Instructor Society workshop on modern fire behavior and interpreting it and utilizing it in training, that class is also filling up. So if you're planning on taking that workshop, please get your paperwork in as quickly as possible. It's probably going to sell out as well. Urban Essentials, Eric Roden's great class, is also filling up rather quickly. There's a few slots left, I think, on both days, but not many. So please get your paperwork in again as quickly as possible. We're anticipating about 35,000 of you all showing up with us in Indy again this year. Courage and Valor Fun Run. Make sure you go to our special events section. Sign up for that. The Cancer Society's Comedy Night on Tuesday. We've got the Fool's Bash on Wednesday. Courage and Valor on Thursday. Stop, Drop, Rock, and Roll with the NFFF on Thursday. Stair Climb on Friday with the NFFF. And then we've got the big Union Party, as always, on Friday night. So all kinds of great things going on, including 21 hands-on training classes, 80 workshops, 211 classroom sessions. Right now we've got about 55 different nations being represented as far as students and instructors. We've got the International Association of Fire Service Instructors meeting going on. We've got the North American Training Directors going on. We've got the International Instructors Workshop meetings going on. So there's so much to do. And we really appreciate your support and all your kindness and what you do to make FDIC a success, because the real success behind FDIC is the incredible men and women that come and participate and network and just bring so much energy and passion. It's just the most amazing combination of teamwork, encouragement, leadership, brotherhood, tradition, respect, integrity. It's just an amazing week. Recharge your batteries, get you refocused, rededicated, re-energized for the upcoming year. 2016 is going to be full of challenges, and this will get you on track to be able to meet them head on. So, and of course, we will have many classes there on physical training. Now, I'm probably not the poster boy for physical training. I'm purely an aerobic guy these days, but at my age, so I'm interested to hear what folks that still do work out seriously have to say. I do my hour and 20 minutes every day of aerobics, but it begins and ends there. So I'm kind of going to be a fly on the wall today. I may have to leave a little early due to some of my other pressing duties, but I'm going to stick around as long as I can. I can't thank Aaron and Steve enough for doing this. I couldn't think of two more connected instructors or two more decent guys to be taking on this training segment every month, and we really do appreciate it. I think, I love both these guys deeply, and I think they're the salt of the earth. So without any further ado, I'll turn you back over to our host. Thank you for allowing me with this brief commercial interruption, but I'll see you at FDIC. We're about 5 weeks away, 6 weeks away. So I'll see you at the world's greatest training conference, FDIC International. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Bobby, and we're looking forward to being there. I know everybody that's on the call today, except for Ross, is teaching there this year, and Ross and I actually submitted a class. Maybe we'll get a second look next year, but we'll definitely resubmit.
Well, what may have happened there, Steve, was if you listed your name first, we may have already had you. You know what I mean? We may have already seen you as the if it had been under Ross's name, it probably would have had you know what I'm saying? Just because you already had too many.
I'll use my screen name next time.
Is it still Blaze Glory? Is that still?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Want to remind everybody that's watching that you can ask us questions if you go to Twitter and send us a question at #FETalk. That's #FETalk. We'll answer any questions that come in. Our producer in the background, Brandon, is monitoring that for us. But really where the topic this month came from is around Christmas time. I think everybody starts to talk about getting in shape again. And on Facebook, I think both Aaron and I both posted something about, having to put down the Christmas snacks and get back serious about working out. And, so we obviously wanted to talk about that a little bit, and I'll give Aaron a second to give his perspective. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that as a fire chief, I was never a big athlete growing up. I've always been interested in the fire service, and it was pretty much what I started doing in high school. But like so many other people, you reach a certain time in your life where you realize that you're getting winded carrying your kids up the stairs, or you realize that the 34s are now 36s, but 38s feel really good. And so I realized right after I turned 40 that it was time to start making some changes. And then as a fire chief, seeing everything going on in the country and the line of duty deaths, the heart attacks, the strokes, things like that, I felt we needed to make a commitment at my fire department to health and safety. And so we started doing firefighter physicals, which scared everybody to death. But the good news is everybody passed. We had a few people that had to have some follow-ups, but we're now in our 5th year of mandatory firefighter physicals for all of our staff, volunteer, part-time, and career. And we started a little over a year ago with Ross, who we'll get to in a few minutes, an actual PT program where we bring in a trainer who's a firefighter but also has a fitness background, so the best of both worlds, that works out our firefighters every day. So not only are they working out, but we make sure that they're doing it the right way. And we'll get that in a minute, but I wanted to get Captain Heller's perspective on physical fitness, both personally but also as a company officer.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having me back. I'm really enjoying these. And fitness does, it strikes a chord with me. I was an athlete as a kid. I was a football player and a baseball player, and after knee surgeries in high school, I realized that my professional career was probably not going to happen, so it became time to go for the fire service. And, over time and kids and everything later, you start putting on weight as you get older, and all of a sudden you start, like you said, you realize that your efficiency is diminished. And I've been a yo-yo. I've been up and down in weight, and I felt great at times and not so great at times. And this year again, I said, it's time. How can you be an effective company officer, effective instructor, and you're really not setting the bar very high at all for yourself and for your guys? So I stepped up and I got involved with a friend of mine, a guy by the name of Brian Gabriel from Ocean County, New Jersey, who's a fire coordinator. And Brian's really into fitness. He's into fitness products and so forth, and he showed me some different things. And it worked out really well for me. I'm down about 25 pounds since January 1st. I feel better. I'm doing a cross between aerobic stuff and lifting, but I'm not killing myself. At 45, it's time to understand your body only recovers so quickly, and I still want to be ready to go to fires. It's very important, and our department does the same thing. We have a a mandatory program that everybody's getting their annual physicals, everybody's being reviewed. Same thing with us. We've had some guys who had some questions. The physicals came back, things were worked on, and they're all on duty today. So it's caught the little things. You know, we have caught some little cardiac issues and things that they weren't something yet, but they were certainly on their way to becoming it. So
Absolutely.
I'm all in.
Awesome. Chief Roden, do you want to give us your perspective from a larger metro-sized department? And I know being a training chief on physical fitness in the firehouse and maybe in your recruit school, what did you guys do?
Well, actually, we have a very extensive physical fitness program. Kind of a newer approach to fitness. A lot of departments are actually doing this, but we partnered up with obviously University of Wisconsin and grabbed a lot of their human performance kinesiologists and sports psychology professors and students and developed quite an extensive health and wellness program through our health and safety officer. We've seen dramatic effects with regards to our loss of, or I should say a reduction in our workers' comp dollars. It's well over $1 million, I believe, in the first year alone that we saved just doing that. And as of the end of last year and early part of this year, we put the entire department through its first annual physical and health assessment. I should say health assessment. We do yearly physicals, but a health assessment to kind of see where we're at. We partnered up with obviously all our PhDs and human performance people, as well as Fusionetics, to kind of score us, if you will, in terms of our health. It's non-punitive. I'll make that disclaimer now. There's no performance measurement that goes on a performance review on any of this stuff right now, and we can talk about that later, the pros and cons of that stuff. But it definitely gives a good oversight and a ground floor benchmark, if you will, as to where the department is at now. And I think as a collective, as we build on that, we'll kind of see what future benchmarks are for others in the future. But very extensive. We provide, the right fitness equipment in the firehouse. Obviously, we in the past, each firehouse bought their own stuff. I mean, it ranged from the old concrete weights to extensive bull flexes back in the day to everything else in between. Now, obviously, we're seeing the formulas, the TRXs, the sandbags, the DVRTs, all the real practical for firefighters today. So, very excited to see where we take this in the future. I won't belabor the point here on the question, but we're definitely headed in the right direction. I'm hoping that we'll definitely be a role model for other cities in the future. And and it starts in probie school. I mean, day one, we do the assessments, we do the mobility screenings and everything else, so we can look to predict some potential injuries in the future, and that preventive assessments on our recruits is going to show us what we need to work on. Get these people through recruit school, and two, kind of fix some of their bad knees, their bending problems, so they're not a back guy 5 years into the job. So we're definitely, again, taking a very proactive and a very inclusive and deep approach to all I guess an encompassing health and wellness program.
Awesome. Definitely sounds like you are, and one of the most important things I heard you say is the non-punitive part, which for those of us that work in union shops always makes everybody very nervous that this program is going to eliminate people's jobs or take people off the line, and I think that's an important component in working with your labor group, if you have one, to implement a program. I'd like to go to Ross, because Ross is someone I met. I've been going to fires with him for years, but never knew his background or what he was into until he approached me a couple years ago with an idea. And Ross, if you would just kind of introduce yourself, your fire service background, but also the fitness background and what you've studied.
Oh, thanks for having me, first off. I've been in the fire service almost 20 years. Been athletic my whole life. Really have a passion for fitness and making sure that fitness is something that becomes a part of the fire service. So, 2010, I decided I wanted to go, get an education that bolstered my passion for firefighter fitness. So, I actually commuted from Milford, which is about an hour and a half to UK, for 2 years to get my master's in kinesiology, health promotion. And my thesis was actually on 20 individuals on the department. And I'm going to brag a little bit. My thesis just got published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning this March. And we got dramatic results just on the 11 individuals that were in my intervention group. And it was just basic movements. It's body movements, you know, body squats, push-ups, just simple things. And then we progressed with it. We added gear, so we made it more specific as the time went by in the 12-week period. And over that 12-week period, we did a initial testing process and then the completion testing process, and the results were dramatic. And so, like you guys were saying, you touched on multiple topics. The psychology of it, the new kind of in vogue term is for occupational athletes. If you think about it, I can't think of another profession of the military where you've got to put 50 to 60 pounds of gear on, jump off a truck, you're pulling hose lines, and your heart rate's already jacked up to about 150. So you got to be prepared for that. So, and that starts, you know, physically fit, your diet, nutrition, and then your physical fitness, your mindset focused towards those topics.
So Ross, you know, I know what we implemented here in Goshen, but if somebody out there is listening to this and they're wondering what they can do in their fire department, or even for them personally, there's a lot of fitness information out there, but I think a lot of bad information. And I know there's a lot of guys that do a lot of cardio, but they don't lift any weights, or they do a lot of weightlifting, but they have no cardio endurance. Can you give us kind of a 30,000-foot view of what firefighters should be doing from a fitness standpoint to prepare themselves to do the job?
Ultimately, you have to balance the two, and that's a hard thing to do. I preach at the firehouse is strong legs, strong core, good cardio. Cardio protected for your heart, good core to protect your back and your abdominal area, and then strong legs, because we're dragging, pushing, pulling, all kinds of things. So my recommendation is there's guidelines out there. Seek out an individual in your area that's trained in this particular field, and they can guide you and direct you down the path. It depends on your fitness level. If your fitness level is low, you start at this point. If your fitness level is really high, you start at a different point. And that's what we try to do with Firefighter. When we come to the firehouse, we try to balance out that whole process of having firefighter A who's at this level and firefighter B who's at this level. And we get them to work out together and scale things and make sure they're doing things correctly so there are no injuries, and we push them to a point where they're getting positive results. That answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to give the perspective for what we did in Goshen is, obviously we had 22-year-olds and we had 52-year-olds and everybody in between, different fitness levels like Ross talked about. And so we're all out there together training and doing PT, but not everybody is doing the same amount, sets and reps, or using the same amount of weight if we're using weights or something like that. So what we've been able to do is everybody's still participating, so there's a camaraderie there, and we really saw it as we started the program. There was a lot of people that didn't do it, but they only did it because I told them they had to, really, and it was on duty. They were getting paid to be there.
They were scared to death.
Yeah, they were, and myself included. But I felt it was important as the chief to go out there and do it as well, because if I was doing it, they had less of an excuse not to do it. But over time, and I know Ross saw this in our department, but it became more of an activity that they look forward to now because it's fun. And everybody has gotten over that initial hurdle of what they thought they couldn't do, or what they felt was a weakness or being made fun of, or they didn't want the other guys to see that they couldn't do as many push-ups or pull-ups or lift a weight or jog or something like that. But we geared the program so that it at the same time everybody's working out at the same time, the same period of time, but they're all working out to different levels. But eventually what happened is everybody kind of caught up with each other, and we still have the younger bodybuilder types that are, maybe lifting plates that are 45 pounds, while some of us are lifting plates that are 25 or 30 pounds. But I'd really like to just mention the camaraderie that we have seen in our fire department because of it. And that has paid off not only in getting people to be involved in the fitness program, but we've seen it bring the crews together better communication, a little bit of busting each other's chops, which is always good to a point. But now what we see is if Ross is late or Ross has got to leave early and we're doing PT, the firefighters are stepping in and pushing each other and cheering each other on like you would see in a competitive event. And I think it's really important for people to realize that there's always going to be that initial fear, but once you push through that, you get amazing buy-in pretty fast. At least that's been our experience.
Yeah, we build their confidence. I mean, they're just like a little kid. They're scared, they're apprehensive, but you gradually work them into it, and then the light turns on, and like, oh, I can actually do this, and then they get positive results. I think another thing you didn't touch on, Chief, as well, is I've noticed recently that the nutritional aspect. Hey, what are we going to have for lunch today? Instead of, hey, we're not going to go over to Skyline or McDonald's, whatever it is. We're going to do chicken. We're going to do fish. This, that, and the other. Instead of, we're going to do this. They actually think about it and plan for it now, which I think is cool as well. That's just another factor that comes into play.
Absolutely. Aaron, what are you guys doing out by you in that regard?
Well, it's interesting because for years at work we did have trainers, and we had trainers come and go over the years. And what I saw in our fitness program was that the trainer made a huge difference. When we had a trainer that the guys could really relate to, and they didn't always have to like the person, but they had to relate to them and understand what was going on and why, it seemed that we got better results. And we had more buy-in, and we had less griping, and just better workout sessions, and the camaraderie did increase greatly. I would agree with that. And then over time we had some guys come and go, and some of the trainers that we brought in just weren't as dialed in for us, and they were more in it for the cash. They were making a pretty good buck on the department, and the guys immediately picked up on it, and the program really fell apart. And to this day, it's not back in our budget that I know of. Maybe the new budget just got approved last week, but it was taken out at some point or used for other things. We still have the gym, and there are a really good core of guys who still go in the gym and do good, solid workouts. But we don't have the mandatory anymore. And you see that. We've got a few guys who really slipped right back. And I know it's a discussion that the chief is having, and my guess is we're gonna reestablish things. And that's where I work. Where I volunteered, where I was the chief in New Egypt, I served as chief there for 10 years as a chief, not the chief. And then as a commissioner for the past 15. And as a matter of fact, today is a momentous day, because it is my final day as a volunteer fire commissioner. So a new guy was changes into the new term today, thank goodness. But we were fortunate to get a FEMA grant and put in an entire gym in a whole other building, basically. And it was good. And right now we are a combination department, and I am looking at who's in there, and it's really a good combination of the career and the volunteers. And even some of the volunteers' wives and their ladies' auxiliary members are really putting in the time. So everybody's apprehensive in the beginning. Once they get into it, it does seem to build camaraderie, and you do see the competition. Even with the older guys, you see a little bit of competition amongst each other, and it's good. And one thing that Ross said about planning our meals at work and things like that, a lot of that is going on not on every shift, but on most shifts, and we're working towards it. But we've seen the same thing. When we have the trainer and we are really focused on it, our injury reduction is working. And as a company officer, I really do see a difference on the grounds. Whether it's on the training grounds or the fire grounds, I have absolutely felt the difference in myself, and I see it in my guys. And so the results are palpable, no question about it.
Absolutely, and that's we were seeing the same thing in our organization. You mentioned something, Aaron, that I wanted to hit on a little bit, and that was the cost. And it's a pet peeve of mine, and I'll probably get some hate mail for this. But we talk so much about line of duty deaths and changing the culture of the fire service, making the fire service safer, reducing those numbers, and we still it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that one of the biggest problems we have is the fitness level of our employees, whether they're career, volunteer, whatever. We all assume that our adrenaline's going to make up for what our body can't. And 90% of the time we probably get away with it. But as a chief, it was hard for us to make a commitment to do annual physicals. Annual physicals for our department is one of our largest line items other than salaries. There's a huge expense to do an annual physical. But I felt as the chief that it was important to do it, and it was the right thing to do to ensure the safety of and wellness of our employees. But I hear a lot of places say that they can't afford it. But then you look at what they're spending money on and some of their other priorities.
Yeah.
I look at the fitness, the health and fitness aspect to be a budget line item that should be secondary only to, in a career department, for example, salaries and benefits. In the volunteer fire service, making sure you have insurance coverage for the trucks and your personnel and the safety equipment and stuff like that. How do you see, any of you can chime in, departments dealing with that, the financial struggle of the fitness program? Because I've seen it so many places where people start it, then they have a budget crunch, and it's one of the first things that goes is the fitness program. And I really think it needs to be a higher priority, and kind of wondering how we do that.
Well, it has to be, and you're absolutely right. I remember, and I know Bobby's told the story several times, but I remember sitting at FDIC and hearing Tom Brennan tell the story about when he was fighting for manpower, and they're asking him in Waterbury, why do you need this? And he basically brought up the cost of a line of duty death, and this is going to cost the city $2 million or whatever the number is, and the city fathers sat back and went, wow, okay, that maybe hits us a little more. Well, and of course, when you asked Tommy, how'd you come up with that number, and he says, I made it up, that he did, but it worked. But we're in that same boat, and absolutely, when you're starting to look at guys with back injuries, the proverbial back injuries, or the bad knees, or this or that, it costs the department so much more money. For us to bring a trainer in at work, I believe they budgeted about $10,000 a year. $10,000 where I work is a very, very minute number. In New Egypt, where I volunteered for all those years, we do annual physicals for the guys. If I'm not mistaken, the physical probably costs around $350 a person, and they are doing about 40 physicals annually. So it's a bigger nut there, but it's the same thing. It's providing safety, and the other thing it does, especially in a volunteer service, you're providing something that they may not get in their other lives, and you're providing them a safety blanket, a security blanket for their families. And I actually had, when we instituted this, I had a couple people come to me, wives and kids, and say, I'm glad you're making my dad or my husband go get that physical, because if you didn't do it, there's no way he was going to do it. So I think the money aspect of it is easy to really play in.
Well, if I could chime in for a second here, as the resident old guy, and I liked it how Steve said even the guys up to 52. That's like, to me, that's a kid. That's a young guy.
I picked that number because that's my oldest guy.
We can turn this hump date right around right now, young man.
Yes, sir.
Just kidding. But the shameless plug time, in this month's Fire Rescue magazine, editor Eric Roden, there's a fantastic article called "Slipping Through the Cracks," and in it the author talks about slip and fall protection and using belts. And Fire Rescue magazine, it's a great piece on education and why it's important as to safety and whatnot. And I love the conversation, and I think funding is very important. But I also think that as firefighters, as public servants, and as individuals, there's a certain amount, and Ross, I think, will back me up on this, that you have to, if we're going to be part of this fraternity, this brotherhood, this sisterhood, this family of firefighters, we have a responsibility to be able to take care of ourselves and our partners. And yeah, the city should fund a workout program, and I get that, and there should be good institutionalized programs, and I think that's very, very important. But there's also a great amount of moral and ethical responsibility on the part of each and every one of us to make sure that we're capable of doing the job, period. Whether, even in my job here now as editor-in-chief of fire engineering and the education director and everything else I do for Penwell, it's up to me to make sure that I'm physically, emotionally, and intellectually prepared to do my job. Now, should Penwell provide me with stuff like health insurance and some stuff like that? Well, yeah, if they can, and that's great. But if I'm going to undertake the dangerous and dynamic occupation of firefighting, then it's incumbent upon me to do everything I can do as well. Like, I think every firefighter should own a piece of personal workout equipment at home that they enjoy, whether that's bands or dumbbells. Like one of my sons doesn't use any equipment at all. and he's a former member of the United States Army. But his workout is fully workout. He does it all with resistance and push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, crunches. He doesn't really use machines per se, or even that many weights. And he's in phenomenal condition. So we always go back to, oh, we gotta get the funding, and they didn't give us a program. Well, at some point in time, you got to man up or woman up and suck it up and be responsible for yourself. If you're gonna have my back, you better be able to do it. And it's not up to the city, and it's not up to the county, and it's not up to the government to hold your hand and make you go work out every day or give you an hour. It's up to you. If you want to do this job and you want to be part of this fraternity, this family of firefighters, then there's a fiduciary responsibility that we have to one another that I think overrides any fiscal concerns. I know as chief officers, you and Aaron need to provide these things for your people, and all that's very important. But the most basic fundamental commitment we made was to one another and to the people we swore to protect. And in that is that health and safety aspect, whereas if you're not capable of doing the job, take yourself off the line until you are capable of doing the job. And it doesn't mean you need to be, as Ross will talk about, I'm sure, you don't need to be Hercules, but you're certainly able to be aerobically fit, you need to be agile, you need to be, what's that word?
Dynamic, flexibility?
Yeah, I mean, you need to be flexible. You need to be able to lift properly. You need to know that's a personal. To me, guys, that's a personal responsibility. I mean, I love the cities and I love the counties and towns for providing stuff and equipment and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, and fundamentally, it's a personal responsibility, in my opinion. And again, I'm a libertarian. I'm maybe a little bit out there, but I don't think it's up to the organization at all times. It's great that they provide us equipment and places to work out, but at some point in time, it's a personal choice. And we have a great piece on obesity in the fire service coming out from a friend of mine from down in the Florida Orlando region, where they talked about obesity in the fire service. If you've let yourself go to where when you lay down on the beach, people start trying to pull you back into the water, that's a problem.
Yeah, the other thing that I found real quick is, when I feel better physically fit, I am far more mentally fit. And after a good workout, my head is usually more clear. So when guys are going through personal things in their lives, which all of us go through at some point, we by law basically here, we're providing EAP programs for guys. Well, if we give them some physical fitness and they take it upon themselves to do that, they become more mentally fit as well. In a lot of cases, not every, but I know from my personal experience I've always felt better after I got done the workout. It might have been hurting, but my head was in a better spot, and I think that goes a long way when we look at a lot of the mental stuff that's going on in the fire service today. It really is a thinking person's game anymore. It's not what it once was.
I couldn't agree more, Aaron. And a lot of mornings I don't feel like doing the PT workout, but I agree with you. I feel a whole lot better the rest of the day when I do. And especially when I do it consistently, 5 days a week and for several weeks, and you get a break in there. Sometimes you're on vacation, you're out of town, you're busy with meetings, and I can feel the difference if I miss the workout for a week and then try to get back into it. Throughout Chief Halton talking, you could see Ross's reaction to what he was saying, and Ross, when he works us out, spends a lot of time relating the exercises we do to the personal responsibility we have as firefighters to each other, not just the community we serve. We always think about the community we serve, but thinking about the responsibility we have to each other from a fitness standpoint, because the tone could drop at any point in time, and we might have to carry somebody, lift a piece of equipment, be in a RIT operation, a rescue operation, things like that. So I want to give Ross an opportunity to talk about that a little bit more and how he relates the fitness program to the personal responsibility we have as firefighters.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, I was kind of chomping at the bit when she was talking there. So, yeah, I firmly believe if we're not doing this and taking it seriously, there's people that do and there's people that don't. What I found is, and this is happening a lot, when I go to the departments and I train, I only go 1 day a week, which is not enough. So you're trying to get that mindset to switch and say, okay, one day is not enough. So I'm telling you, it's at least 5 days a week, maybe 6. As we get older, more and more rest days. That's another thing that you have to take into account as well. But I have guys texting me, hey, what can I do today when I'm not with them? They'll text me, what should I do today? So it changes their mindset towards it. You know, it's a mental game, obviously, as well, which many things are. So when we start any program, we do a baseline test. Test aerobic, muscle endurance, strength, and your body count, fat, and those types of things. But it's all basic movements: body squats, push-ups, sit-ups, and then we start throwing weights in. As the weather changes, we'll put gear on because we don't fight a lot of fires in the suburbs. So when was the last time you actually got in gear, exerted yourself, pulled a hose off, and were breathing air? So you got to expose yourself to those things as well. So we prepare in the beginning, and as time goes by, we scale it, we increase the intensity, because if you're not stressing yourself to a point where you're not exerting yourself, then you truly aren't making that big of a difference, so to speak, okay? To a point when you're on duty. But we'll make them do functional movements. I'll make them put gear on. We'll drag 5-inch 50 yards back and forth. They don't like it, but once they get done, hey, I feel so much better. You know, like you were saying. You know, it sucks when you're doing it, but when you're done, like, I feel so much better. This is great. So it's got to suck to make a difference. Excuse my French. So that's my stance on it. So we make it functional fitness relative to the fire service. Put gear on, wear a pack, you know, do body squats. If I've got a guy that's way fit, hey, you want to work harder? Go put your air pack on. Breathe air, see how that treats you. And we go from there. So you bring that dynamic into it, and then this guy's doing it, and this guy's like, whoa, he's doing it. Let me try it. And then all of a sudden, you've got everybody doing it. And it just builds on itself, and it just keeps moving forward. So, again, it's a mental state, and it just translates into your physical state. So I'm all on board with that. I said chomping at the bit when Chief was talking.
Hey, Ross, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
What do you think of the Wildman Red Card program where we do the pack testing? Have you ever seen that?
I have not. I don't have much exposure to that. I know of an individual I can put you in contact with.
No, I've done it. I was Red Card certified my whole career.
Yeah, I'm not exposed to that at all. I would do some research, but I don't have any exposure. I can't give you an objective answer or opinion on that.
Well, I've got a little gear to switch at some point we can talk about. One thing that I'm seeing in the firehouse, and this is for Ross, he could probably give us the best input on it. A lot of guys are looking at different products, fitness products, as far as energy boosting things or powders and muscle mass things and this and that. And other than good diet and overall, eating properly, lean meats and things like that, this is becoming, I think, an issue because, number one, guys are spending a lot of money on it. And number two, I'm not so sure they know the stuff that's going into their bodies. And there's, how do you guide that, really?
I personally don't use that stuff. I'm old school. You put the work in, you eat right, and you go from there. I'm not discrediting that stuff. There's certain things out there. It depends on what you're training for as well. If you're a bodybuilder, you need X amount of protein, that type of stuff. If you're just doing the normal workouts, your diet generally will take care of that kind of stuff. I recommend seeing a nutritionist. But taking that pre-workout stuff, I don't support that, but I'm not saying it's super bad. If that makes any sense.
Right.
I don't believe in it. If you can't motivate yourself to do it, then you got to look inside yourself and see what motivates you. See what I'm saying?
Right. And that's a really good point because I got a friend in the next town over who was a chief, and he was morbidly obese, and he went on a program, a challenge type program,
right.
Utilizing their products and so forth, and
Yep.
and he lost 200 pounds in about a year.
Right.
And the guy looks fantastic, he feels fantastic, and he actually made a VES grab back in December. And
right.
had he not lost this weight, he shouldn't have even been in a fire, let alone save this man's life. But my thought process on it is, it motivated him to do what he's doing now. And so that was the question, because he swears by it, and lots of us have used them, and it's worked for us, but it does always go back to eating right and working out. And that was just kind of my take on it, but I wanted to ask you.
my thought is if it jump starts you down the right path,
Right.
that's perfect. But
Right.
until you change up here and get that mental game focused,
Right.
it's a lifelong battle
Right.
for everybody. I don't care who you are. It's a lifelong battle to make right decisions no matter what setting you're in. But if it jump starts them and they stay diligent with it and stay the course, so be it. But what's right for you and what's right for me are two totally different topics. That's why we're all a little bit different.
And I think what Ross is talking about, which is kind of neat, you guys, is the whole functional fitness deal. I'm going to take an opportunity to throw my great friend under the bus here, just because I can, and I'm that kind of weasel. So what everybody on the call doesn't know is that one of us on the call used to be a professional bodybuilder and used to do all of that, Hans and Franz stuff, and body waxing and the John Boehner tans and all that stuff, and that's a whole different kind of workout and a whole different kind of mindset. So Eric, why don't you tell everybody about your days hanging out with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the boys, doing all that stuff, and the difference between the functional fitness that you promote today, and how you and Ross have kind of how that's all evolved now and how different it is.
Right. Well, actually, I wasn't a professional bodybuilder, but I did go through that. Obviously, probably every one of us in our early 20s went through that in some way, shape, or form. We started working out, but I don't know if you guys can see this. What's that right there? That's me in my heyday. There we go. That's me in my heyday at about 225 pounds. And I look back on that photo. The reason I have it on my phone, it's just kind of funny to harken back to the days where that's all I did. And I lived at the gym. I did everything that we teach people to do today. I was there twice a day, 2 hours at a crack, but it was one-sided. I didn't have that balance. Was I strong? Absolutely. Was I humongous? Absolutely. I wasn't on steroids. I don't want to portray any of that other, but to get that big, I was eating about 8 to 9 times a day. The way my bone structure, everything is, if I missed a meal, I lost 10 pounds. So I was constantly eating. I couldn't imagine what my blood count was back in the day. But was I fit for the job? Yeah, I was. But after running a mile, I'd want somebody to put a bullet in my head because that was about all I could take. So I didn't have that balance. After that, obviously, I got into the cycling phase where I got down to maybe 165 pounds. And it was the opposite. I lacked a lot of the strength I used to have, but obviously I could use a couple of days of infiltrate. I'd get obsessed with certain workouts. But then I found CrossFit and got into the functional fitness earlier on. And I like talking about CrossFit. I'm a big proponent of it. Does it kind of lead to future injuries? It can, and there's a few things that result in that. One, obviously, it's the motivational aspect of CrossFit. Anybody watching today or going to watch in the archives who's been in a CrossFit or worked on a CrossFit, motivational and that tribal mindset, if you will, that gets people into it and coming back for more. It's great, and that's what is very appealing of working out in the firehouse. We're seeing that, especially in my department, a lot of companies working out together, just like they're doing in Goshen and Miami Township there. I think that's going to be the norm in the future. I think we're starting to see the balance. We have all the research. The data are correct on a lot of the metrics, the occupational athleticism. It's being repeated by other universities, so we're really kind of seeing what that balance is, including nutrition. And I agree with Ross's supplement stance on that. I've seen people take the NOS before a meeting, they're chugging the stuff, just trying to get fired up for a workout. All you need is 4 or 5 other people or less to get you motivated, and you'll stay in the game. But I'm glad Bobby brought that up, and because I'm one of those full circle guys, if you will. And I guess for anyone looking to save some time in their life, you don't have to go full circle like us and many of us back in the day who have. But find that balance. Get that functional fitness, and getting your metabolic and anabolic, or metabolic and aerobic capacity balanced out. You're gonna be fit for the job. You're gonna be the killer the community wants. And going back to what we talked about earlier, the citizenry wants a capable fire department. That includes being trained, being aggressive, being aggressive in a safe way. I'll make that disclaimer, and also that includes being fit. Okay, the public has a very hard time conceptualizing an unfit firefighter. I mean, if you ask any layperson, they see somebody in black turnout gear that's physically fit with a big mustache. That's kind of their personification of the firefighter, and we essentially owe that to them. We owe that to them. We owe that to our fellow firefighters and ourselves. Communities pay a lot of money in legacy costs for us with pension, health, and just like the rest of Americans, knives and forks are killing more firefighters than anything. And we have the metrics, we have the research, we have the know-how to extend our own lives both on and off duty and in the retirement. So I'll say it here: there is no excuse for not being fit.
Agreed.
We've got a question that came in over Twitter, and it was actually very similar to the next question I was going to ask Ross. But it talks about, what is the best program for fitness within the department? Is it the IAFF, the Fit to Survive, CrossFit, a peer fitness trainer program? Anybody, but I was going to direct it towards Ross, have an opinion or some input. And what I was going to ask Ross is, if a department doesn't have a program and there's no opportunity to do that where you currently work or volunteer, what would you recommend a guy go out and do? Is it a CrossFit gym, the closest thing, or where would you send that person?
It truly depends on their fitness level, Chief. The less fit need a little more attention as opposed to the more fit. I CrossFit myself. What we do at the departments is CrossFit-esque, but we don't do the Olympic lift. So you go to a CrossFit gym, they'll scale it for you, but you're not going to do the Olympic lifting stuff. Is kind of what separates your high-intensity circuit training versus aerobic conditioning. Olympic lifting is a very technical aspect of things. So I recommend you start out. I mean, I'm not promoting anything like that, but it's cardio and your insanity type stuff, your muscle endurance stuff to get yourself fit, moving in the right direction. Start out basic. And then you need strength as well, but there has to be education that comes to that as well. That's why we do, the 1 rep max testing, so we can base strength programs off of that. But, I'm a firm believer in starting out and see where you're at. You got to measure, get your metrics, measure where you're at, see where you're at, and then you figure out a program moving forward. And whether you consult something in your city, your town, whoever would be specialized in that. Body weight stuff, push-ups, sit-ups, those types of things. Running, and then once you start feeling those things aren't challenging, you move yourself up to something a little more challenging. Do multiple things. There's so many things out there that you can do, and you can just YouTube things, to be honest with you. Once you get to a point, there's things out there. And if people want to contact me once this is over, I'll be more than happy to steer them, help them, guide them, whatever the case may be.
Hey, Ross,
Yes,
for the retired guys like me and soon to be Steve, because if you look at the gray around those temples, but for us older guys, and I'm in my 60s, so I can use that. I'm damn proud of it. I run 10 miles a day on an elliptical. I do it every day, 7 days a week. Usually, I try to get 365 days a year. I'll miss occasionally due to travel, but other than that, I intentionally select hotels based upon having a good elliptical machine. So for me, it's all elliptical these days, and there's a lot of reasons for that, which are unique. But for right now, I'm an assistant chief of training for a great volunteer fire department, the Limestone Fire Protection District out here in Collinsville, Oklahoma. And we don't have the funding to have gym memberships or anything like that, and we don't have a elaborate workout room. So for me, what do you think is the best thing that or machine or whatever? What do you? I guess my question is, what do you think is more important for the average volunteer like myself, or retired firefighter who's now volunteering, or two-hat or whatever you are? Is it aerobic conditioning, or is it the core strength functionality stuff that's more important?
I think you have to balance all that stuff. You need to do the cardio, which you're taking care of. The core strength is for your protection for your back and your core, obviously. And then muscular endurance. I mean, you got bumpers on the back of a truck. You step up, you do that, you step up on a bumper. You have steps in the firehouse. You have a hose tower, those types of things. If that becomes too easy, throw your air pack on. You can have resistance that way. You can run around the building and then come in and do some push-ups and sit-ups. Muscular endurance, you need to do some resistance training just for bone density. As we get older, the bone density decreases. So having resistance training modified to your age is hugely important as well, so we maintain that bone density, especially for the females. But cardio-wise, I think is hugely important just from the cardiac aspect of keeping that weight off and making sure you're fit to do it. Muscular endurance, core strength, and cardio would be my three staples, I guess I would say, for that question.
Ross, if somebody wanted to do something on their own, low cost, get some functional equipment to do their own little fitness program. I know I was real surprised when we implemented the program here with you that I was so used to a physical fitness program being treadmills and bench presses and weight machines and all that sort of stuff. And I don't think we touched any of that stuff for a couple of months. It was push-ups, sit-ups, squats, crunches, my favorite exercise of all time, the burpee, and running around the firehouse, running up the hose tower. But
right.
What kind of stuff would you recommend somebody, if I'm going to just do some exercises in my basement, what should I buy some bands? Should I buy some weights? What should I be looking at to do that?
Well, you're talking about the stuff we do is functional fitness, Chief. I mean, you're sitting on a bench, that's fine, that's strength, you can do that. That's something that you don't need somebody to supervise. Doing those isolated, bicep curls, those are all fine and dandy. But for our profession, functional movements, like you said, the body squat, we got ball slams, you got wall balls. I am a huge supporter of the rowing machine. Rowing machine's low impact, all right, nothing really easy on your joints, and as you know, it taxes the heck out of you.
Yep. So
if you push yourself on it, you got to change it up. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Kettlebells are a good piece of equipment as well. You can do multiple things with kettlebells, and you do functional fitness with that. Full range of motion. You're squatting, you can press it, take a ball slam, and slam to the ground. It seems kind of silly and monotonous, but you're doing core strength, and it's explosion, it's power. You do all those types of things that train you in ranges of motion where we're actually going to be functioning in those ranges of motions on the job.
Ross, you've given us a bunch of information, and you mentioned you wouldn't mind people contacting you. I'll give you a moment to shamelessly plug yourself if you'd like. And if somebody did have a question about firefighter fitness, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, my personal email is E as in Edward, the number 1 room @yahoo.com. We can post that. I think we can post that or not. And just feel free to email me anytime you like, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I went to school to do this, so I mean, just don't take this the wrong way, but every person that I train, like at Goshen or the other place I go, you're kind of like my lab rat, so I can just get data. I'm pulling in data, I'm crunching the numbers and seeing how things are progressing, how things are moving, because you have to monitor progress so we can make changes if need be. But yeah, I'm open to any questions. I'm open to suggestions. I mean, there's so many things out there. There's so many other things going on that I don't know about that can help them. They can help me, and we got to get into this together. We've got to change the culture, and change the focus, change the mindset relative to fitness in the firehouse and how important it is.
Do you know, or do any of the other people on with us today? I mean, here we are doing a Google Hangout. We're using technology to get the word out. A lot of us default to the internet and Google for information. Are there any resources you know of, or anybody else that's on here that know of, that would be a good resource to get information?
NSCA, National Strength and Conditioning Association. They do a lot of research on it. They actually have it's called TSAC, Tactical Strength and Conditioning. They actually have a TSAC-F, which is firefighter related. They just launched that, I think, last year. So you can actually go and get a certification now. Now the NSCA, I'm CSCS, Strength and Condition, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, which you have to actually have a college degree, which I'm a for myself. But the TSAC, I think, is important. NSA does a really, really good job of, and they've really taken a heads-up approach on, military, police, and fire, those three entities, and that they're really making a strong push to support that, get involved, do research, because there's not a whole lot of, there's some research out there, but it's getting better, let's just put it that way. The NSCA is a good place to look into that.
Okay. I'll get that one posted up there also. We're getting close to the hour mark. I want to give everybody a chance to put in their 2 cents or final words. Chief Halton, do you have something you'd like to add for us before we wrap up today?
Yeah, I think that there's probably there's 3 things we always have to be careful about. First, our spiritual health, then our mental health, and then our physical health. And if we keep those 3 things always under constant maintenance, we're going to be better firefighters, we're going to be better people, we're going to have better lives. Another shameless plug, Fire Rescue Magazine, which is available. Just go online and ask for it. We'll send it to you. But Jordan Pounder has a great column every month on health and wellness where he talks about firefighter health. He does a great job. And Ross, we'd love to have you send in contributions. Remember, in December, we always run our health and wellness fire engineering. And remember, Fire Engineering Training Network, join up and get up to $100 off your FDIC registration. So if you're a subscriber, it can save you $100 for FDIC. So a couple of shameless plugs. Take care of our sponsors. The 2 best magazines in the fire service industry, and I know everybody on this call would agree with me when I say that, or I'll kick you off of this call. Just kidding. But it's so important, and they all do intertwine. When you're not feeling well, it's hard to be spiritually well. When you're feeling sluggish, or you're overweight, or you're struggling with some physical disability, it can wear down your mental agility. It can wear down your spiritual self to where you become less tolerant, to become more easily angered. So I think Eric said it best. I think it's important that we take care of the entire person, and I think that's why guys like Ross and to your organization are invaluable. You really need to have that, for lack of a better, and I love this term. Someone tried to insult me one time by calling me a cheerleader for the fire service, but I love that term. I told my wife, I said, could you put that on my tombstone? And she said, we're not. She said, we're not burying you. I said, okay, so I won't have a tombstone, but if I was going to have a tombstone, I would love to be known as a cheerleader for the fire service. But you need a cheerleader for every cause, whether that cause is fireground excellence, whether that causes education, whether that causes ethics and morality, the firehouse arbiter, or whether that causes firefighter health and wellness and fitness. You need to have that guy or gal in your core group, on your shift, and in your organization. And I think it's so critical, whether you're a career volunteer, whether you're a brigade firefighter or an industrial firefighter or wildland firefighter. You need to have that person like Ross who constantly can come up with, hey, have you tried this? And I never knew what a burpee was. And Ross, you'll never get me to pick up a kettlebell as long as I live. But for the folks that can and should, it's critically important. But even for those of us that have, we're beyond the fire ground, we can still connect with guys like Ross that can help us to enjoy our golden years, and they truly are the golden years, and remain active, maybe not as engaged as on the fire ground and such, but still remain active within the organization and contribute. So I love this topic. I thought it was great. I think that it was really enlightening, and so it's so great to hear a guy like Ross talk and hear that passion, for wellness and physical fitness. I think that's so important. When I was a kid, it was Jack LaLanne.
Yes.
Yeah. Still the toughest guy I know.
Yep.
But thank you for letting me participate, Steve and Aaron, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say next month. And next month your show is on April 1st, and I heard that you were going to be having the Pope, the President, and 2 other world leaders join you to talk about education. So
absolutely, directly from the UN.
We have a lot of pull.
But it will be on April 1st. That'll be your show, is on April
Awesome.
Fool's Day, which is going to be hysterical.
Thank you for having me. That's the date in Ohio that you have to have a budget approved, which I think is ironic.
Yeah.
Chief Roden, any final comment before we break?
Yeah, I'll let you guys finish up here, but obviously, we have a lot of cultural wars, if you will, or civil wars in the fire service. I think one we can all agree on is a culture of fitness. It's inarguable. And I think we need to start hitting a lot more. Obviously, magazine, we're really going gangbusters on a lot of that stuff, but we're out of excuses for not being fit, folks. Just like I said. Thank you, sir. Yep, a little closer, a little closer. All right. You know, so we're out of excuses, folks. And I said it even during my keynote last year. And you know, a culture of fitness is what we need to concentrate on a lot more. You know, we had 9 firefighters that were killed during fireground operations, and obviously we all know what the numbers are that are related to cardiac and they're physiological. So we really need to take maybe a renewed focus on fitness, and obviously with Ross and Jordan at Fire Rescue, and a lot of the other people that are really jumping on board with this stuff. John Hoffman in Sacramento is another name that comes to mind. You know, I think we need to instill a culture of fitness, and I think we're on the right track. So keep up the good work, folks.
Thank you, Captain Heller. Final words.
Well, I too, I really believe this is an important conversation to be had, and it needs to be had in more places than our Google Hangout, and more places than simply, you know, a class here and there. The National Fire Service groups who are looking at line of duty things, who are jumping on board and are you know, we're having the study talks about everything that we're doing. This is something that has to be talked about because the studies are there. They've been there for a long time. It's just like, you know, the latest technological advances on the fire ground. The information is not truly so new. It's just being reinforced. So now we have to step up. And when you look at the fatality numbers, the line of duty numbers, they don't lie. These are very clear numbers, and these are preventable deaths. They are absolutely preventable deaths. Grabbing a baby from a window is a different story than you know, skipping the salad bar every day. And we have to do it. We've got to step up and put ourselves in a little discomfort to make life better for our people we swore to protect, for the guy in the seat next to you, and for your families at home. And that's how I look at it. That's why I got my butt back in gear and decided I can't be a crappy spokesman like I felt that I was until I started losing weight again.
I think they call that a gut check.
Literally a gut check.
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
Well, I want to get things wrapped up, but I also want to send out a special message of something been on my mind. And obviously, those of you that know what I went through the last couple months with my wife being very ill, and I can tell you the power of prayer and the support that I got from my friends at Penwell and Fire Engineering and the Fire Service was awesome. But I noticed today Captain Mike Dugan, who's a friend of all of ours, posted that he's got a nephew, Chris Dugan, who's 13 years old, is fighting cancer, and there's a lot of costs associated with that. So Mike Dugan doesn't have a whole lot of hair on top of his head to shave off, but he's going to shave off his mustache as a fundraiser for St. Baldrick's to raise money for Chris Dugan and cancer research. So I would encourage everybody to go to Captain Mike Dugan's Facebook page. The link's there, and I've also shared it on my Facebook page. Make a donation. And I think it'll be amusing to see Mike here in a month or so, maybe without a mustache. But I think it's a great cause, and keep Chris Dugan, his family, and Mike in your thoughts and prayers most of all as we wrap up this month's Hump Day Hangout. It really does make a big difference. With that said, Chief Halton, Chief Roden, thank you again for the opportunity. Aaron, thanks for your help. Ross, I'll see you at PT at 9 o'clock. And we will see you back next month, April 1st, for the training Hump Day Hangout. We look forward to talking to you and seeing you then.
With the Pope and Barack Obama.
Right. Take care.
God bless.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent.